So change comes in waves. Laminar Scientific is disrupting renewable energy with revolutionary ocean wave energy technology. The clean energy transition is currently inhibited by the current renewable energy systems intermittency that they face. So if you think about it, with wind and solar, you have a sunny day, you have cloudy days, you have windy days, you have calm days. And this is really, this doesn't really always match human demand. If you look at this graph right here, you see solar spiking, daily, and you have, again, sunny days, cloudy days. And then you also have wind, for instance, also very intermittent. When you look at wave energy, though, it's very steady and it's very predictable. That's something. So it is a real catalyst. It could be a real catalyst to the clean energy transition by providing steady base load form of energy. So what Laminar Scientific is doing is we're essentially creating this box that you go and install into the ocean, and it moves the waves and generates energy for you. Capture that steady form of energy. Now we're starting with a community device, about a 100 kilowatt device, and that produces energy day in, day out. We have 2 patents that are allowed now, and 3 patents still pending. So very excited about that. We just got that final patent allowed, or like the last patent allowed, from those 2 last week. So, or that was issued last week. So very excited. We get that technology monopoly now, not just in the US, but we're also applying other parts. So yeah, essentially it's this box. We're conceptualizing, we're creating these patents. Now, really quick, I'm just gonna get into what problem we solve in the industry. Now, I'm kind of talking about the overarching problem, the intermittency of renewable energy. Now, the specific industry problem is that the ocean is inaccessible. To install something at sea, to uninstall something at sea, to do maintenance at sea, it's not easy for us to do. You need drones, you might need divers, and we are changing that with our most, this is basically our most important feature. It's a surface connectable wave device. The box that I was talking about, the wave energy converter, it's very easy to transport, and you connect it at the surface level of the sea. You don't need drones, you don't need divers, you don't even have to look underwater. Connect to the surface level, even the smallest of operators can do that. And then it transitions. I'm not going to go into this too much, but essentially it transitions to a diagonal configuration by itself. All I want to say is that diagonal configuration captures 2x the amount of energy than horizontal or vertical. So it's just it's physics essentially. So I won't go into it too much, but essentially, surface connectable, connected at the surface level, transforms into a diagonal configuration. It's kind of the best of both worlds. Smallest operators can use it, and then they can capture energy as if they have, they're underwater savvy. That's what Fatima Energy, our first customer, said. So underwater savvy is essentially like, it's almost as if you are that big operator. But yeah, that's both worlds of what we're going for. Starting small, like I said, with community device. Our customer, and I'll get into that in a little bit, but we are focused in, at least initially, in Southeast Asia. Right? There are, Indonesia in and of itself has 18,300 islands. And island communities all over the world, they suffer from a lack of integrated grid, right? And they also suffer from, so lack of integrated grid means they have to ship in diesel, they have to use the generator, and their energy cost is extremely high. So in our location where we talked to some of the local islanders, Madura is the island that we were kind of focused in, 16 kilowatt an hour, or sorry, 16 cents per kilowatt hour is the cost of energy. If you look at Iowa, it's about 8. And they're about, so you can see it's 2 times more, but they're about 6 times poorer. So the development is really inhibited in their location. What we can do is bring that down to 5 cents per kilowatt in that location, because we are harnessing the energy right at their doorstep. No need for an integrated grid, no need for a shipping diesel. And this can really make a big impact in the need for their development. we're very excited about it. They're very excited about it. And we ended up signing a licensing deal worth $1 million, and we've already started paying some of that revenue. And we started a regional joint venture with the Southeast Asian Energy Company. So Southeast Asian Mining and Energy Company. Some early traction items. We also raised 362,000 from the private sector to date. 162,000 was from crowdfunding. And we've received some good DOE support for simulation efforts. And we've also been encouraged for additional DOE grants and SBI. So just want to go through a little bit of our team. Our team is, I believe, well poised to come up with great technology in the industry. And the reason being, we have some fresh perspectives. I'm an aeronautical engineer. Pulkit is also an aeronautical engineer. And we, there's a fresh perspective in the marine energy field with some industry veterans who can kind of ground us. We've got aerospace engineers up in the sky, they're grounding us. And when they ground us, what happens is we're bringing about relevant innovations into the field. And it's really worked. We attended conferences and everything, and people really were like, you gotta test this out. You gotta start putting it in the water because this is something very different, paradigm shift that's needed in order to revitalize this industry. I'm an aerospace engineer, like I said. I got my degree from Purdue University. And, I've worked in Collins Aerospace for about 6 years prior to this, led 21 engines, led teams, essentially, systems lead for NASA X-59, Airbus C-295, some other aircraft as well. Ranga is a industry veteran. He founded and sold an energy company in the past. Brady is a great engineer, and we've got some advisors. We have a PhD in I think. But essentially, for PhD in marine energy, an industry veteran, aeronautical engineers coming together to create relevant changes, relevant innovations. We're partnered with some great institutions, the University of Iowa for educational endeavors such as senior design. We also have some other partners and contributors as we see here, pillars and backers, Department of Energy branches, etc. What I really, the team and the partners are coming up with, or we have a culture of experimentation. Really happy about that. I'm really proud of that. It allows us to fail fast in a lab environment before we go to a riskier environment. We're able to hone in to some key innovations that will go into the go-to-market process. See if this video works. No? This video doesn't work. Well, that's okay. It's a cool video though. Okay. Yeah, I'm basically done. So. This is a Mac. It's only been using CPU. Okay.
Maybe if anyone has a question.
Oh yeah,
I do have a question. My question is, how did you and your team do?
So I started scouting essentially, during the COVID period. I started bringing these ideas down to paper. So I started scouting on LinkedIn for people in the university area or the Iowa City area to start, joining our team and start building prototypes. That's essentially how it started. And then conferences were really good in meeting some external folks as well, the people in the business, or like the PhD in there, talking about industry veterans. So.
When you have these out there in the ocean, how do you keep them from getting tangled with shipping and boats? And you have to put up a flag or buoy or something? Or?
Yeah, so we have beacons. There are specialized beacons just for that, to ensure that shipping or vessel will know where we are.
I'm just thinking about all the like Indonesian islands
Yeah.
and, you know, climate change and flooding, so how is that figuring into where you're choosing to prototype stuff or?
Yeah, so essentially there's going to be some sea level rise, but it's quite small for our buoy perspective. Is that what you got, like in a technical manner or?
Well, just in terms of energy needs of small islands that may be dealing with like survival.
Yeah, so all the more reason why our technology is necessary. Especially as they face increased frequency of typhoons and and events like that. Our system would be very useful in ameliorating some of the damages, some of the effects of that.
As far as placement, how far out into the water do they need to be? How deep? Does it matter how deep?
Yeah.
And what's the method of conversion?
Yeah.
Is it up and down motion? Is it left to right?
It's a 6 degree of freedom buoy, so it captures all movement that takes place. So it's about 200 meters in that we actually from shore that's where it's moored. We prefer 20 to 50 meters depth. But deeper, we have options to go even deeper. So right now, what we're selling is a license and blueprint bundle to energy companies like I talked about in Southeast Asia and Guatemala. And basically, we do a full due diligence on the technology, present it to them. They buy the technology license or the patent licenses in that region. We develop it together. That's how it's happening right now. Let me answer the question. How the mechanism of how it works? That's a very good question. Essentially, what happens is there are mooring lines that go into the buoy, and there is a reel that's wound around. So I'm just going to explain it very simply. And there's a spring that's coupled to it. If you think about, and there's a generator that's coupled to the reel. So if the buoy moves, the reel spins, and it generates energy, and it powers the spring as well. So it energizes the spring. So if it moves to one direction, the associated springs the corresponding springs are energized. Once the wave subsides, the spring pulls it back. We kind of have that equilibrium, or return to equilibrium and all that.
Yeah. How affects that? With respect to wind, solar, what's the efficiency of the production?
Yeah.
If you consider a square mile of wind, a square mile of solar, how much do you need?
Yeah.
Is it very costly today?
I'm sorry?
Does it cost more?
So that's a very good point. At the very first system is going to cost a lot, right? Because it's the very first system. But as we start manufacturing at scale, you're going to bring that cost down. But to answer your question, when it comes to the footprint versus energy, the ocean is much more, or like the energy in the water is much more dense than you find in wind or wave. So it's about 63 times more dense in energy than wind, and 300 times more energy than solar. So you don't need as big a system. If you can have a small system that's full, generate a lot of energy.
Yeah, another question, how do you full? Speak to the full, there are the big oil companies, their transition for they had billions of dollars to invest.
Yeah.
How do you like look at this
Yeah.
I know that they're already investing a lot in wind, solar, and
Yeah. So we see that as an opportunity. So for example, our Southeast Asian energy company that we were talking about, they're a coal company, they're a coal focused company that is looking to transition. And they're the ones making that investment into, basically our patent licenses, our blueprints to go in, partnering with us in a joint venture. So we see that as a big opportunity to convert, help in their transition to clean energy. And they're used to a baseload form of energy, right? They're not used to intermittency and storage and all of these extra things. They're used to baseload. And our ocean energy system is closer to that baseload because it's a lot more steady. You don't need as much. This is something that, kind of aligns with what they're used to. We see that as a big opportunity. Thank you.
might have missed this. How do you connect the energy source here to the grid?
Very good question. So that's actually not seen in any of the videos that you saw. So we have a C cable or any of the ports. We have a C cable that's actually going to be connected at the surface level. Do you see how the whole system was connected at the surface level? Now the C cable is also going to be connected.
Does it have battery storage?
So not in the system.
Okay.
But the island can do that. We recommend the island to do that.
Okay.
A little bit of that.
I think it's a great idea for FEMA possibly, if you can set it up. We were talking about
Yeah.
climate change a second ago, but I think natural disasters, if you
Yeah.
could displace these areas that are affected.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's actually a grant that we were. Oh, yeah.
Do you wanna go back?
No, it's okay, it's okay. So that's actually the Department of Energy co-op that we sent concept papers to, and they recommended us, or they encouraged us for that very purpose. That's really very right.
Great.
Thank you. That's a good point, I think.
So kind of following on that, if you have C cables attached, so do you have a sense of like, how many of these do you need based on population or? So are you talking about ringing an island?
So that's a very good point. So one buoy in our estimation is going to be able to satisfy 150 homes in Southeast Asia. It's equivalent to about 76 homes in California or in the US. So 150 homes, that's the basis that we're going. So depending upon the size of the island, we may say 3 or maybe.
Do you have a number, like a megawatt? How many?
So it generates 100 kilowatt, which is equivalent to 2.4 megawatt hours per day.
Okay.
That's 100 kilowatt 100 kilowatt hour per hour, which is 2.4 megawatt.
Okay.
Actually, it's unlisted. It's okay. Yeah. We'll skip it. But basically, there's some cool experiments that we've done. Actually, no. Okay. Apparently, I don't know. But yeah, so we have done some cool experiments, in the wave tag with like a full PTO. We've done many experiments like this actually. So the other video was kind of a collage of all the experiments, or quite a few experiments. But yeah, we prototype, we rapid prototype, we throw out bad ideas, we keep good ideas, and the makerspace is pretty good.
Do you think that this could work on a river and,
Uh,
say, flying, the kayak courses that they make, where they put boulders in, they're gonna create a wave?
Yeah,
That can create turbulence in a river, and then you put a product in.
yeah, so it would actually be more efficient to use a hydroelectric turbine in rivers. And so RiverGen is there's a company called ORPC, it's creating these turbines that you can put in the river. So they would have an upper hand.
ORPC.
Yeah. So yeah, turbines are generally where you have tidal flow, but we'd rather use turbines.
It's funny you were talking about like cents per.
Yeah.
hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, what's the cost? This is something, what is the cost?
Oh, okay. So that's a good question. The cost to produce that is about, well, okay, so we have estimations at scale and not at scale, right? So at scale, the cost is going to be about 3.5 cents. 3.5 cents to produce that. The thing is, this is with a government subsidy that we get this final cost to the consumer. So with the clean energy subsidy in the region, can bring it down to 5 cents. But what we're actually, what Fatima ends up charging, is gonna be higher than that. So it's, we haven't like confirmed the number yet, so we're looking at about 8 cents per kilowatt hour. And then, the subsidy would bring that down, especially clean energy.
What type of initial investment, how much does the unit cost? So if
Yeah.
somebody had to pay $1 million, and then the energy is produced at 5 or 8 cents an hour.
Yeah, so that's a very good question. So the first unit is expected to cost about $130,000. With manufacturing at scale, we'll bring that down to about 80,000. That's our goal at least. So we end up getting a higher ROI. Right now, Laminar is kind of going in a licensing model where we're licensing the patents. We're not going into manufacturing. When we start building those, like the joint venture that we built with Southeast Asia, with Mokatma and Southeast Asia, then we will guide manufacturing with them, but we wouldn't take on manufacturing because that's just higher risk. We don't have those. These as of now.
In the future, do you see, for example, like water problems already going to be, because over there, it's always the government,
Yeah, so we would need permits with the government, but in a lot of ways, we've noticed that it's a lot simpler than we thought. If we show, so for instance, in Madura, the island that we're focused on, as long as we're out of shipping lanes, we're not impacting fishing. There's a fishing spot, or like there's a fishing industry in one kind of quadrant. As long as we're not impacting both of those, they're pretty okay with giving us the permit. At least, but I think in a place like California, it would be a lot more difficult. So we'll have to go on a case by case basis. At least in Southeast Asia, we've also looked into India. It's been relatively easier to get some permits, or at least we're in the discussion of permits. We haven't gotten any yet.
Do these devices need much maintenance once you place them, or?
Yeah, so the good part of the system, about the system is, now, when it comes to, so the parts that we're designing with are modular. We're looking for market available parts to kind of handle everything that's inside, right? So that way, like procurement of the different parts will be pretty relatively easy. Now, if you have to maintain something, of course, there's a slew of sensors within the itself. If you have to maintain something, it's very easy to transition back and uninstall. You don't need drones or divers. That's another big step that we're introducing to the industry, is the ability of this buoy to be easily unplugged and brought to shore from it. Other wave energy companies are trying to maintain their systems at sea itself. It's a lot more complex and it's a lot more expensive, a lot more equipment. We just say, hey, unplug and bring it back. We do have the option of maintaining at sea as well. For the most part, when it comes to maintenance, you brought up a good point. We have a circuit breaker essentially. So it's analogous to a circuit breaker in electricity, but it's a mechanical motion breaker. So if forces get a little too high above the fatigue strength within a given life, what ends up happening is circuit breaker gets triggered and passively decouples. Essentially, what I'm trying to say is high forces that cause fatigue cracks and problems with the system, which would require maintenance, are ameliorated when you have this circuit breaker. So it's another novel design that we're introducing to the industry. So we expect less maintenance.
So you say you don't need a diver or anything to install it. How is it tested? How is
Yeah.
if you did a typhoon or a hurricane or something,
Yeah.
a lot of massive forces.
That's
If you're gonna, if you don't, it's like, if you're really tethered, isn't it gonna move all over?
So that's a very good point. So essentially, these mooring buoys are tethered by a dead weight. We just drop the dead weight off of a ship or off of a boat, essentially. And so the mooring buoys are tethered, and then this one can be plugged in or unplugged, plugged in or unplugged. So this part over here or this part over here is easily removable, but the mooring buoys are properly tethered with dead weights. And the dead weight design, we're talking to Triton Anchors with this. So Triton Anchors is quite interested in our system essentially overall. In fact, yeah, I won't get to that, but they're thinking about licensing one of our anchor, or they're in discussions with us on one of our anchor concepts that we have a pending patent on. Anyway, I won't go into it because Laminar is not focused on that at all. So, but essentially, this dead weight, it goes down and has like these spokes that as it shifts, it starts settling. That's the, yeah, so it's an interesting method. So you technically never have to look underwater. That thing is a permanent, permanent setup. You just push it off, overboard, settles down into the ground or down into the seafloor, and then it settles within that seafloor. That's it again. And then part of the thing just be unplugged. Do that. Anything else? Any questions?
I have a question for now others. Others, okay. What can we as a community do to support you?
That's a very good point. I think to some extent, in Iowa, it might be a little hard to relate. But the reason why we're doing this in Iowa is because the University of Iowa has incredible ocean simulating tanks where we can test all of this in miniature scale, and it's a low cost location compared to places like California or East Coast. So in a lot of ways, especially in our licensing state, I think as a community, these kind of events, like kind of just engaging the company, engaging our team is very, very good. Keeps us upbeat. And like linking us to potential investors, like for instance, with builders and backers, we have a good network of people who are interested. We're kind of going forward with them. BioConnect is very good. Thank you for linking with BioConnect. They're helping us with our grant right now. And these kind of things really help. I think I don't have a definitive answer, like this is the answer, but just being part of that startup community is great. Great question. Thank you.
Good.